Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am an executive coach and leadership consultant who helps you get from where you are to where you want to be in your career. Today we're going to talk about how to compete for talent like a private equity firm. Let's dive in. Private equity firms have realized that the way that they compete against one another in the market is not just based on the amount of money that they have, but it's also increasingly based on the talent that they have in their organizations. And so what they do is they look at what other firms are paying people, and then they'll either match or try to beat that offer by a certain percentage. So they'll say, hey, this person's getting paid for $100,000 at another firm. Let's table that offer for $450,000. So if you're working at a private equity firm, you probably used to being able to make more than you would if you were working at another type of company. But this does not only apply to private equity. This applies to any organization where there is a very competitive market for talent. So maybe you work at a tech startup and you're realizing that your startup is being outpaced by some of the bigger companies like the Facebooks and the Googles of the world when it comes to hiring top talent. Well, you can use the same strategy. In fact, any organization can use this strategy. Maybe you work at a nonprofit and you're competing for a really great fundraiser who is being wooed by a for-profit company. You can still use this strategy. The first thing that you need to do in order to be able to compete like a private equity firm is to figure out what the market rate is for the role that you want. If you're trying to hire someone into a role, then you need to know what the market rate is for that role. Now you can find this out by looking at job postings, and you can look at Glassdoor. There are a number of different ways that you can figure this out. The next thing that you need to do is figure out what the budget is for the role. So if you're trying to hire someone into a role, you might have a budget of $100,000. But if you go and you see that the market rate is $120,000, then you have two choices. Either A, you can choose to hire someone who is at the 100 level, and you may end up having trouble retaining them because they may feel that they underpaid relative to the market, or you can choose to pay the market rate. Yes, it's going to cost you more, but you're going to be able to retain this person longer because they going to feel like they getting paid what they worth. And then the third piece of this puzzle is figuring out how much you willing to pay above the market rate. Are you willing to pay 110% of the market rate? Are you willing to pay 120% of the market rate? Private equity firms tend to pay 20 to 30% above the market rate, but you don't necessarily have to do that. It depends on how badly you want the person. If you really want this person and you think that they're going to move the needle for you in a significant way, then you should probably pay them 110 or 120% of the market rate. So as you're thinking through this, you may be thinking, well, I don't have a choice. Like we just don't have that much money in our budget. Well, here's the thing. If you don't have enough money to pay someone 10 or 20% above the market rate, then you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to going to generate more revenue, how you're going to get more funding so that you can afford to pay people what they're worth. Because if you don't pay people what they're worth, you're going to end up with people who are disengaged, who don't feel valued, and you're going to end up having high turnover. So before you walk into that next negotiation feeling defeated because you think you don't have enough money to offer someone what they want, I want you to remember this. Figure out what the market rate is. Figure out what the budget is, and then decide how much above the market rate you're willing to pay. And if you can't figure out how to make the math work, then go back to the drawing board and figure out how you're going to make the math work. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this episode of how to compete for talent like a private equity firm. If you did, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and also to check out this playlist right here for more videos on salary negotiation. See you next time.